The gleaming floors of the Maxwell Gallery reflected designer heels and bespoke suits as Manhattan's elite gathered for the season's most anticipated opening. I adjusted my worn denim overalls, comfortable in my disguise of paint-splattered fabric and calloused hands. My daughter Emma had spent months curating this show, centered around my latest series, though she was the only person who knew that Jam's shadow was actually Jenny Martinez, her supposedly struggling artist mother. "Excuse me," a voice dripping with disdain cut through my observations. "The bathroom in the East Wing needs attention. There's a situation." Victoria Maxwell, the gallery owner's wife, stood before me in a gown that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. She dangled a ring of maintenance keys like they were contaminated. "Of course," I said quietly, accepting the keys. As I turned away, I heard her mutter to her companion, "These maintenance people really should dress more appropriately. What if they run into Jan's shadow?" I bit back a smile. The art world had spent 3 decades trying to unmask Jam's shadow, spinning theories about reclusive billionaires and mysterious European aristocrats. No one suspected the middle-aged Latina woman who taught community art classes in Brooklyn. The bathroom did indeed need attention. Someone had spilled red wine on the imported marble. As I knelt to clean it, the door swung open. "Mom." Emma's whispered voice was panicked. "What are you doing? Your painting just sold for $12 million. "Cleaning up wine," I replied calmly, scrubbing the stain. "How's the showing going?" "It's incredible." "But you should be out there. The Times art critic is practically crying over your new piece, hidden in plain sight." I smiled at the irony. That particular painting, prominently displayed in the main hall, was a self-portrait of sorts, a figure in workers' clothes surrounded by oblivious wealthy patrons, their faces turned away from the true art in their midst. "You know why I stay anonymous," I reminded her. "Art should speak for itself, not for its creator's identity." Emma slumped against the bathroom wall, her curator's badge catching the light. "I know, but watching them treat you like this while worshiping your work, it's maddening." "It's enlightening," I corrected. "Every sneer, every dismissive glance, they fuel my art." "Why do you think my latest series resonates so deeply? I paint what I see from down here, on my knees, cleaning their messes." The bathroom door swung open again. Victoria Maxwell entered, then stopped short at seeing Emma. "Miss Martinez, what are you doing in here with the help? The Rothschilds are asking about veiled society, and Jan Shadow's agent is supposedly making an appearance tonight." Emma straightened, her professional mask sliding into place. "Of course, Mrs. Maxwell. I was just ensuring all areas of the gallery meet our standards." "Well, do that on your own time. Honestly, fraternizing with maintenance staff. What would GM Shadow think of how we're presenting their work?" I caught Emma's eye in the mirror, seeing her struggle not to laugh. "I imagine," I said mildly, wringing out my mop, "that Jan's shadow would be very interested in how all people are treated in this space." Victoria's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose. "The help has opinions on art now. Next you'll tell me you understand the deep symbolism in Shadow's work." "Actually," Emma started, but I shook my head slightly. These moments were too precious for my art, too revealing of the very attitudes I painted about. "I just cleaned the floors, ma'am," I said, watching Victoria's satisfaction at having her prejudices confirmed. After they left, I finished cleaning and made my way to the main gallery. The space hushed as people gathered around my newest piece. A massive canvas depicting a woman cleaning windows, her reflection showing a crowned queen, while gallery patrons looked straight through her. The mastery of light, the commentary on social invisibility, a critic was expounding. James' shadow has outdone themselves. This is clearly drawn from profound personal experience with society's hierarchies. If he only knew. I painted it after spending last year's gallery opening polishing windows while listeners like him pontificated about my work's mysterious origins. Emma appeared at my side, holding a maintenance request form as cover. "The Guggenheim is fighting with the Louvre over veiled society," she whispered excitedly. "And you'll never guess what Victoria Maxwell said about your work. That it speaks of her soul?" I guessed, remembering how she dismissed me moments ago. "She said she feels a deep personal connection to the themes of social justice and invisible labor. Called it a profound indictment of privilege, while simultaneously snapping at a waiter for serving her domestic champagne." I pulled out my notebook, the one everyone assumed was for cleaning schedules, but actually held my preliminary sketches. "That's going in the next series." Mom, Emma's voice turned serious. Don't you ever want to reveal yourself? Just once to watch their faces when they realize? What would that accomplish? I asked, watching Victoria Maxwell hold court near my self-portrait, probably explaining art to people who worked 3 jobs to afford rent. The moment they know who I am, the art stops being about the message and becomes about the messenger. But the second they know JM's shadow is a working-class Latina who cleans their spaces, they'll start seeing different things in the paintings. Suddenly, my commentary on social structures will become angry or bitter. Better to let them reveal their true selves to me, thinking I'm invisible. That's where the real art comes from. The gallery lights dimmed slightly, the signal that my agent was about to make his scheduled non-appearance, a ritual we maintained to fuel the mystery. The crowd hushed, craning their necks to catch a glimpse of the famously reclusive artist. I should go, I smiled, lifting my mop. The bathrooms in the West Wing need attention, and I believe JM's shadow would want their gallery kept immaculate. Emma watched me go, shaking her head at the irony of the world-famous artist voluntarily cleaning toilets while millionaires fought over her canvases. The night progressed like a living canvas, each interaction adding layers to my mental composition. In the West Wing bathroom, I listened to 2 gallery owners discuss my work while fixing their makeup, completely ignoring my presence. GM's shadow must be European nobility, one declared, blotting her lipstick. Only old money could understand class dynamics so intimately. I heard Shadow's a reclusive billionaire, her companion replied. The agent won't confirm or deny, which basically confirms it. I adjusted my cleaning cart, mentally sketching their poses, the casual way they talked about wealth while stepping around my mop bucket as if it were invisible. Perfect for my next piece. The bathroom door burst open, and Emma rushed in, her face flushed with excitement and frustration. Mom, you need to see this. They're interpreting veiled society completely wrong, and I can't correct them without revealing. Show me, I said, pushing my cart behind her as cover. In the main gallery, Victoria Maxwell was holding court before my largest painting, a triptych showing 3 versions of the same scene. A maintenance worker cleaning a museum floor. In the first panel, wealthy patrons looked through her. In the second, she wore a ball gown, and they fawned over her. In the third, she was both at once, split down the middle, challenging viewers to confront their own biases. Clearly, Victoria was saying to her rapt audience, Shadow is critiquing the working class's inability to appreciate fine art. See how the cleaner never looks up at the paintings? It's about educational disparities. My hands tightened on my mop handle. Beside me, Emma made a small choking sound. Actually, a quiet voice cut through the murmuring crowd. I believe it's about institutional blindness. The speaker was an elderly woman in a simple dress, her hands bearing the same work-worn calluses as mine. Maria Garcia, my first art teacher from the community center, who had encouraged me to keep painting even when I was a single mother working 3 jobs. The worker doesn't look up, Maria continued, because she's internalized her expected role. The question is, why don't the patrons look down? What beauty, what humanity are they missing by refusing to see? Victoria's perfectly penciled eyebrows arched. And you are? Just a community art teacher. Maria smiled, catching my eye across the room. She was the only other person besides Emma who knew my secret. But art speaks to all of us, doesn't it? Even the help. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. I moved closer, pretending to clean the baseboards while listening. Well, Victoria recovered. I suppose even service workers can have opinions, though understanding Shadow's complex symbolism requires a certain educational background. Does it? Maria challenged gently. Or does it require lived experience? Shadow's work consistently shows us what we choose not to see. Perhaps that's why their identity remains hidden, to force us to confront our own assumptions. Emma stepped forward, professional mask perfectly in place. Mrs. Maxwell, the Rothschilds are asking about the price of hidden in plain sight. 14 million, Victoria announced proudly. Though I doubt our maintenance staff needs to concern themselves with such figures. I bit back a laugh, thinking of my bank account. I donated most of my earnings to art education programs in underserved communities, keeping only enough to live comfortably and fund Emma's education. Money had never been the point. As the crowd dispersed, Maria lingered, pretending to study the painting while speaking softly. Jenny, your best work yet. You've captured exactly how they look through us. Thank you for defending the piece's real meaning, I murmured, buffing an already spotless section of the floor. Someone should. Though I admit, watching Victoria Maxwell lecture about class consciousness while ignoring the actual working class people around her is its own kind of performance art. Emma joined us, clipboard held strategically to hide her expression. The Guggenheim just offered $16 million for Veiled Society. Mom, that's your record. Use the extra $2 million to fund more community art programs, I decided, especially in areas where schools have cut arts funding. You could buy the Maxwell Gallery with what you've earned tonight alone, Emma pointed out. Imagine Victoria's face if what? Victoria's voice cut in sharply. All three of us straightened. Miss Martinez, again with the maintenance staff. And now you've let them handle confidential pricing information. I watched Emma's spine stiffen, saw the battle between professional necessity and a daughter's pride play across her face. Mrs. Maxwell, she started, but I cut in smoothly. My apologies, ma'am. Just curious about the pretty pictures. I'll return to the bathrooms. Victoria nodded approvingly at my apparent submission. See that you do. Really, Emma, you're a brilliant curator, but this habit of fraternizing with the help must stop. What would Gian's shadow think? Maria coughed slightly, covering what sounded suspiciously like a laugh. Yes, what would the great artist think about human dignity and workplace respect? Victoria didn't even glance at her, proving every point in my paintings without realizing it. The artist would understand that proper boundaries must be maintained. Speaking of which, our mystery guest should be arriving soon. Emma, make sure all service staff stays out of sight during the appearance. As Victoria clicked away on her designer heels, Emma turned to me with pleading eyes. Mom, please. Just this once. Let me tell her who you are. And rob me of these perfect moments of inspiration. I gestured at Victoria's retreating back. That woman has inspired 3 series of paintings without ever knowing it. Her without her mask, the rest of us wearing ours. It's beautiful in its own twisted way. The best art, Maria added, holds up a mirror to society. Jenny's mirror works precisely because they don't know who's holding it. The gallery lights dimmed again. Another signal for my supposed agent's appearance. Guests hurried to the main hall, hoping to catch a glimpse of the mysterious jammed shadow. That's my cue to disappear, I smiled, gripping my mop. Emma, go do your job. Maria, thank you for always seeing what's really there. Jenny, Maria called softly as I turned away, you've taught them more than you know. They just haven't learned to look properly yet. I pushed my cart toward the bathrooms, already composing my next piece in my mind. A cleaning woman holding up a mirror to a gallery crowd, their reflections showing what they refused to see. That art, like truth, belongs to everyone, not just those who can afford $14 million price tags. 3 months after the gallery opening, my latest series, Reflections in Service, debuted to unprecedented acclaim. The centerpiece was a large-scale painting of the Maxwell Gallery bathroom, showing a cleaning woman whose reflection revealed a kaleidoscope of famous artists throughout history, all originally from humble backgrounds. Victoria Maxwell herself paid $20 million for it, still unaware that her bathroom conversations had inspired its creation. Emma's career soared following the successful showing. She'd been offered directorships at 3 major galleries but chose instead to split her time between the Maxwell Gallery and a new community art space we'd founded in Brooklyn. The irony, she told me one evening as we hung student artwork beside million-dollar masterpieces in our community gallery, is that they're now calling me a visionary for bringing fine art to working-class neighborhoods. Victoria keeps bragging about her gallery's social consciousness. And how is Mrs. Maxwell handling the new inclusion initiative? I asked, adjusting a child's finger painting beside one of my smaller works. She's trying. Emma laughed. Yesterday, she learned the janitor's name. Only took her 15 years. The community gallery had become something special, a place where immigrant mothers displayed art beside famous works, where maintenance staff felt comfortable enough to join art discussions, where children from all backgrounds could create without judgment. Maria ran free art classes 3 times a week, teaching the same lessons about light and shadow that she once taught me. Sometimes I joined her classes in my overalls, just another aspiring artist learning from a master. Your mother was one of my best students, she'd tell the class while I pretended to struggle with perspective drawings. She taught me that great art can come from anywhere. The art world continued its obsession with J.M. Shadow's identity. Theories now included Russian oligarchs, secret royalty, and even artificial intelligence. A recent ART News article suggested Shadow must be a collective of blue-chip artists, citing the impossibility of one person understanding such diverse social perspectives. I kept cleaning at high-profile galleries, collecting moments and conversations for my work. Victoria had even promoted me to head of maintenance at the Maxwell Gallery, proud of herself for this show of magnanimity. You see, she told her friends, J.M. Shadow's work has taught me to value all members of society. She still didn't know my name. But real change was happening, quietly and slowly. More galleries were offering free admission days. Art schools were expanding scholarship programs. Emma's integration of community artists into mainstream shows had started a movement. One morning, I arrived early at our community gallery to find Victoria Maxwell standing before my latest work in progress. I've been painting it after hours, showing a diverse group of people creating art together, their reflections in the gallery windows revealing their hidden dreams and talents. The technique, she murmured, not realizing I was there. It's so familiar. For a moment, I thought about telling her, about watching her face transform as she realized how many times she'd lectured the great J.M. Shadow about proper social boundaries. Instead, I picked up my mop. Beautiful painting, I said quietly. She turned, startled. Oh, yes, well, one of our community artists. Shows promise, though obviously not comparable to J.M. Shadow. I smiled, beginning my morning cleaning routine. Maybe that's not the point. Maybe art isn't about being the best, but about being seen, really seen. She paused, actually looking at me for the first time in 15 years. That's quite insightful. You know, I never asked. What's your name? Jenny, I said, extending my calloused, paint-stained hand. Jenny Martinez. She shook it, somewhat awkwardly. You seem to know quite a bit about art, Jenny. I see it a lot from where I stand. Sometimes the best view of a gallery isn't from the center of the room, but from the corners we're cleaning. She nodded slowly, looking back at my painting with new eyes. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps we all need to learn to look from different angles. As she left, I added a final figure to my painting, a gallery owner learning to see beyond her own reflection. Sometimes I realized the greatest masterpiece isn't on the canvas, but in the slow transformation of hearts and minds, even if they never know who's really holding the brush.